Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And if you've ever wanted a premium version of the ELC AMX, well, you've got an opportunity over the next couple of weeks. Just log into the game 4 or 5 times, claim some envelopes, and you're going to be able to get it as a reward, as easy as that. And this is a premium version of the ELC at tier 6 that, again, everybody can easily get your hands on. But a lot of you might be thinking, when Wargaming gives something away for free, it's usually not very good. And that's my job to let you know today. Is this a garage slot and about 600,000 credits if you sell it, or a little bit of a gem that I would recommend keeping? So obviously the easiest way to find whether this vehicle is good or not is to compare it to the tier 5. So let's compare the AMX ELC 901 at tier 6, the premium version, to the AMX ELC BIS. So immediately we notice that both of these vehicles use 90mm guns with wonderful 240 alpha damage. This is great at tier 6, but obviously incredible at tier 5. What a lot of you might not realize is that the tier 5 version of this tank, if you use the stock gun, the 75mm, you actually have a fully traversable gun, and this blows a lot of people's minds, as well as also having really good damage per minute on this tank. But you can't compare the 75mm with the 90mm on the 901 because it's a premium tank. You don't have that luxury of switching out. So immediately we notice that the 901 does have a substantial rate of fire improvement of 2 seconds better reload than the tier 5. It has the same penetration, however, at 120 at tier 6, which is starting to lack a little bit, but it does get heat pen of 160 on its premium rounds, but I would argue that's not as good as the 150 APCR that you'll have on the tier 5. Now, APCR will be better for going through spaced armor. It will also be better if it needs to overmatch the target, but you could fire AP if you wanted to do that. The only advantage of having heat is if I guess you want to shoot through surfaces that are about 30 to maybe 40mm thick when they are angled at above 70 degrees. So gun handling wise, the 901 has better aim time but worse accuracy, much worse dispersion when moving but better dispersion when turning the turret, so up and down within this regard. For the mobility on this tank, 60 forwards is the same as the ELC at tier 5. Its power to weight is a little bit better, even though the vehicle is 1.5 tons heavier, but it has better ground resistances and also better tank traverse speed. So this vehicle is substantially faster than the tier 5 tech tree tank. Armor-wise, the 901, it's still horrendous. It has a little bit better on the side and on the front. Might save you from a very low caliber HE shell or two, but it's not going to save you from getting overmatched by pretty much most of the guns that you meet, especially considering that now you're at tier 6, you're going to be meeting higher tier tanks. One of the most disappointing things about this tank is the hit points. 550 is not a lot for a tier 6 light tank. You get one shot by quite a few vehicles that you're going to meet, especially when you start meeting tier 8 tanks, as this is a tier 6 vehicle. Camo rating wise, however, this vehicle is phenomenal. It's one of the best in the game, nearly 22 base camo percentage that you can buff up to a disgusting 55%. One of the most disappointing things, however, for me is the view range. 360, no improvement over the tier 5, meaning that you definitely have to take coated optics on this tank, which, and even if you do, you don't get incredible view range on this vehicle. And some of you out there who don't use a premium consumable might even want to go taking binoculars on this tank if you don't have a very good crew and you're not able to get to about 450 meters view range when you're using coated optics. Another disappointing thing is the fire chance. It's 20%. This thing loves to cook, unlike the tier 5, which has a 15% chance to be set on fire instead. So crew-wise, this vehicle only has 2 crew members, so you're going to have to, I guess, just take now with all of the crew skills working as they do. That's a lot better system, right, than it used to be, where you had to kind of like have maybe 20 different crew skills on your commander if you wanted to have the ultimate ELC crew. However, this means just get the 2 most skilled French light tank crew that you have and slap it on this tank. So crew skills wise for your commander, I'd recommend Brothers Repairs, Concealment, Recon, Emergency, and Coordination. You might want to drop Repairs and use something like Practicality even on this vehicle, considering that you can only get hit twice and you're probably going to be using your repair kit, right? For your gunner skills, I'd recommend Snapshot, Designated Target, and Concentration, although you might want to drop one of those to be able to take Armor instead, considering how bad the accuracy is on this tank. For your radio operator skills, situational awareness is a must. Jamming and communications expert will do you proud on this tank. And for your loader skills, I'd recommend intuition so you can make use of the AP, HE, and also the heat rounds on this tank. Take ammo tuning to improve the average alpha damage up a notch, and perfect charge to allow you to snipe a little bit better. And for your driver, I'd recommend Brothers, Concealment, Smooth Ride, Off-Road Driving, Engineer, and probably Clutch Braking on this tank. Or you could take repairs, but again, you're going to get 2 shot anyway, so I think repairs is a wasted slot on this tank, and I'm only using it because I have it on my tier 10 French light tank crew. Equipment-wise, I'd recommend vents, coated optics, and an exhaust on this tank. That will allow this vehicle to get 55% camo while moving, which is just absolutely disgusting, and it will mean that your opponents practically have to proxy spot you if you sit still in a bush. My second build on this tank, I'll probably drop the exhaust or the coated optics to take a gun rammer, and I guess you could even try and go for like a rotation device on this vehicle, or maybe even vert stabs would be better than a rotation device for when you're kind of like brawling in those combat situations instead. As this is now a tier 6 tank, it actually gets field mods, as you would know, because obviously you can take 2 sets of equipment. I would recommend taking the top speed boost. I'd recommend improving the accuracy on this tank, and the reason for that is that if you take the rate of fire, you only go from about 11 seconds reload to a 10.5 seconds reload. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter compared to missing that opportunity with the poor accuracy that this tank has. And remember that you're going to have to be hiding for about 10 to 12 seconds anyway if you get spotted. So unless you're literally just dumping at tanks in the open and somebody else is spotting for you or they can't see you, you don't ever really get an advantage with that rate of fire. And I think that the lack of the accuracy will make you do less damage overall. And for the final field mod, I recommend improving the reverse speed on this tank. And that's one of the biggest differences on this tank, is that this vehicle with those field mods that the ELC even 90 can't have, or sorry, the ELC AMX at tier 5 can't have, does get a little bit of a notch up. But you know what, I think that's quite enough theory crafting. Let's see if we can become Sandobu Jjigae on the battlefield. And I just thought to myself, all of my like new Korean viewers might be thinking to themselves, why did this guy just say Branston tofu stew, or how the hell it manages to get translated? So let me give you the quick Sandobu Jjigae. Sandobu Jjigae was a player, or is a player, maybe still, haven't seen them in a very long time, who was Korean and played on the Asia server, and they showed us a decade ago some next level AMX gameplay at tier 5. And yeah, I've learned a lot from their playstyle. You can go and check out their incredible AMX gameplay. I think they had played something like 20,000 games in an AMX. I'm not sure if they still play World of Tanks, but I pray that Sandobu Jjigae is just watching from the shadows and sees that it's their time to shine now in the AMX ELC with the 901. Although, you know, maybe not with that kind of gun handling. We completely whiff our first shot. And this thing, it's definitely not a snapshot kind of tank. But as we could see with the AMX, probably better to kind of like fall back and not take the hits there, as the AMX 12T lost half of their hit points, than to kind of react a little bit slower in that situation and maybe get spotted. But again, as I said, with this vehicle, they're pretty much going to have to proxy spot you. Now, one of the things that I'd recommend that you do on this vehicle... Oh, what was that? Blind fire, but... okay. You did good with the blind fire, but bad with getting spotted, and now you can go and think about it in the garage, mate. And that's really nice how quickly we're able to get that crew skill called Communications Expert to have a little bit of extra. Now, one thing I'd recommend is that obviously, as there's a lot of these in the matchmaker right now, get intuition, take a few HE shells, and know that the lower plate is trash on this tank. You will be able to change your alpha from 250 to 320 if you get clean shots on ELC 901s, as we just saw there, and it can really help with those duels. It means that you go from needing 3 shots with your AP to 2 shots with your HE against enemy ELC players. So definitely take that into consideration when you're deciding how to engage fellow AMX lovers out there. Okay, so having just had a really good start, that's the dream for this tank. You want to get into a position, get into a bush, but unlike other tier 6 light tanks, which kind of maybe struggle a little bit with their alpha damage, this vehicle actually feels like it's worth exposing yourself to be able to engage. So we fire on the move, the AMX misses us, and hopefully that means that we're going to be able to reload against them. But then again, if they're taking a gun rammer, they'll definitely out-reload us there in that situation, especially considering that we've improved our accuracy but lowered our rate of fire. But again, I feel like this vehicle is all about just delivering that 240 alpha damage accurately, rather than getting those 240 alpha damage as quickly as you can. All right, so 88, he should just stay up there, right? There's no way he's going to come down. Uh-oh. Okay, well, I'm thinking, should I go for the lower plate? I try to, but yep, dodge, get behind, and this is the dream, right? you want to turn on, side on here, and then turn around for them when you're just about to reload, pop them, and then hopefully go back side on. Now, the reason why you go side on is because this vehicle, it's longer than it is wider. So if you go front ways and kind of like face hug your opponents, more often than not, they're going to have the gun depression to be able to catch the top of your tank, because the angle will be here and they'll be able to depress the gun to catch it. But if you go side on, then quite often their gun is just over this part of your vehicle, and you can absolutely troll tanks with anything that doesn't have about 10 degrees of gun depression. I believe that you can troll in a tiny little vehicle like this, and that is the Sundarbujige way. We learnt it a decade ago from Sundarbujige, and see that? Is that lucky? What? That's not a bug. It's just a little spore from a plant, a seed, not a spore. Get out of my house. Is that lucky? I guess I'm lucky now. Is that Sundarbujige ghost telling me that it's time to bring out the ultimate troll again? Maybe, possibly. Well, shutting down medium tanks is always a good thing for this vehicle. I digress. Let's focus on what the plan is, and that is driving in between two tier 6s, putting one shot into the back of the tank, and then this is the way. Managed to get that turret awkward, and then I'm going to use the Tiger to be my shield against the T-3485M, and this is what I'm talking about. They can't depress their gun. It's the ultimate troll within that regard, and you can make players look really silly. And even next level gameplay, use them as a shield against other players going into this situation. And just turn on, get the shot in, luckily dodge the shell, and then turn back, use this guy for cover, and that T-3485M is probably thinking, what was this? That tactic came out of Korea! Yeah, basically, so get wrecked, mate. And yeah, Sundarbujige, hopefully he gets to see this and sees that I'm still talking about him a decade later. Imagine. That is the AMX at tier 6. When I played this, when I looked at the statistics of this vehicle, I thought, oh man, it just looks like it's going to be the tier 5 at tier 6. It's going to be awful. But I had really fun games in it still at tier 6. It really shows you just how good that AMX can be at tier 5 if it can still perform at tier 6. And importantly, this is a premium tank, so you do make extra credits. And also, don't underestimate how nice it is to have the field mods on this vehicle. That extra reverse speed, the extra accuracy, the extra top speed on this tank, and you can sacrifice that engine power, because remember, you've got more engine power and better ground resistances that you do over the tier 5, so you can actually more consistently go at that 62, which is hopefully going to be 63 because you're taking the engineer skill on your driver as well. This is just what doesn't look like it's a big upgrade is actually a pretty darn good upgrade at tier 6. So next up, I've crowdsourced some gameplay here, and we have the awesome Tommy31 sniper from the Klinu clan, who's going to clean up the enemy team here, playing in their AMX ELC 901. And once again, we can see quite a few of them in the matchmaker here. 4 out of 30 players all playing that new French little premium light tank. But yeah, I want to reiterate what I just said, that this vehicle, again, I really thought, looking at its statistics, man, it's going to be awful. But for it being a premium and also it having access to the field mods, it's pretty gnarly in certain situations. And while I tried playing for a couple of hours to see if I could get you some good tier 8 gameplay, I just couldn't really get some tier 8 matchups. And so I think this is one thing that Wargaming has truly been trying to work on recently, is to make sure that tier 6 tanks don't have to meet so many tier 8s. And so if you play this vehicle, try playing it on the EU1 server. Sucks, I guess, if you're playing on the NA or the Asia server, but on the EU1, you don't get nearly so many tier 8 matchups, and it definitely feels more comfortable for this vehicle, but again, it kind of removes a little bit of kind of like that extreme nature that you can have of the French light tank, you know? I kind of like the bad matchups, especially in vehicles like this that have got really good camo and really good alpha. You can do some really funky stuff with the things. And Tommy here was definitely doing some funky stuff, showing you some really good deep spotting there. But when you have a platoon of 82s who just say, yo, I'm pushing through, it doesn't matter how good of a little sneaky sniper you are, you're going to get dug out of the situation. But those British assault tank destroyers playing in a truly British assault kind of way. So Tommy's going to decide, get back. And in this kind of a situation, I would just love to get up here into this position. Hopefully, maybe roll a few heat rounds down at the 82s. But luckily, artillery at mid-tier are very powerful. And so quite often in this tank, as long as you can keep moving and not get hit by the enemy artillery, hopefully your artillery will put in some really good hits for you. And so scouting actually felt at tier 6 like it wasn't the most futile thing to do in my play session in this tank. And this is really just what's special about this vehicle. Just that 240 alpha damage, especially against a tier 5 medium like this, it really does feel like it's not something that you want to get hit by. And once you, I obviously don't quite know what Tommy is doing with regards to their field mods or their crew skills, but once you manage to improve that accuracy, especially with concentration on this tank, you can afford to sit still for 3 seconds, and that will improve your accuracy by kind of like 5%. And that will allow you to just deliver those shots cleanly. And that, I think, is, for me, one of the things that makes this tank feel oh so different. And also, because you can afford to have yourself, because it's a premium tank, not a lot of people are going to want to go and get a 6-skilled crew in their tier 5. However, a lot of people will probably have kind of like a 4, 5, or 6-skill crew in one of their high-tier French light tanks. And so if you do, especially if the commander, and I would thoroughly recommend investing crew training into your commander if you want to play this tank, because the commander's not just the commander's also doing the loading, the radio operator, and are they also gunning as well on this tank? They have 4 roles. So if you can get a 5 or 6 skill commander on this tank, you're not just getting a 5 or 6 skill commander, you're also getting half of that for the other 3 roles that the commander performs. So this would be the perfect opportunity. If any of you don't have a French light tank commander, get a French light tank commander, either in this vehicle or put it in a tech tree tank, and then you can just move them into this tank. So why not get the tier 5 French light tank and then use those personal reserve crew books, the ones that, if you have any of them, that give a huge amount of crew to an individual crew, to an individual crew member, and then put them on the commander. Oh, that was a bit of a whiff there, Tommy. Don't worry, we'll ignore that one. And then put them on the commander, and you'll have a very good crew immediately at the most efficient price. The last thing that you want to do when you've only got a 2-person crew is to use the crew books that give experience to both crew members. I mean, it won't be that bad if you really don't have a driver as well. But yeah, because the commander is the linchpin on this vehicle that kind of keeps everything together, definitely consider... Oh, a nice kill there, and lovely intuition switch to, I guess, a heat to be able to make sure we secure the Valiant. The commander really will propel you to be able to do some wild stuff on this tank. Talk about wild stuff. Tommy's just absolutely cleaning up right now, showing you why this thing is an absolute terror and why Tommy is a great player. Boom, baby! Easy, right through the T-52. I wonder if Tommy is improving the shell velocity on this tank. Actually, it doesn't look like they are. Still got the 950 standard shell velocity, so that is an absolute clean shot against the T-52. Knocking them down a peg right there and removing them from the battle. And Tommy's just absolutely slamming it. Up to 4,000 combined now with some good spotting. And look how close you can fly to the sun that is the Churchill 7 here and not find yourself melting. As it's a blooming hot day today, and I'm thinking, gosh, it's like 28 degrees in my room right now before I put the aircon on. Again, I digress. Focus on what's at hand here. And you can fly really close to your opponents and not get spotted because that 55% camo is disgusting. And again, Tommy, like-minded player as to me, going for that coated optics, that exhaust and that vent, and yeah, that 55% camo. And Tommy's actually taking it to another level by using the concealment directive. So maybe they just don't have concealment on their crew member, or maybe they do and got it to 100% and just wanted to notch it up a little bit. And I guess with that kind of a build, you could probably start to get 56, maybe 57% camo on this vehicle. And if you were to put a Bond exhaust on, and you used a directive like this, you could get close to 60% camo on the move if you really wanted to go completely overkill. And then your opponents would have practically no chance of being able to see you until they get probably within about like 200 meters mostly. And being able to fly, like, look at that, the artillery didn't see Tommy at 160 meters there. That's just absolutely disgusting. Now, obviously, artillery, the medium tank up in the bush couldn't see him as well. This is what's wild about this vehicle. you can dictate the engagement. And if you can dictate the engagement, as long as it's not one of those battles which is like 3 minutes long and you've got 5 tanks driving in, you can't do anything in that kind of a situation. But in these kind of slightly slower games that do go on just a little bit, you can dictate the engagement. And if you can dictate the engagement, you can farm. And just a great game here for Tommy, having an absolute monster game for the AMX ELC 901, making it oh so much harder for everybody to be able to achieve their ace tankers in this tank. I'm sure that the community thanks you for your service within that regard, Tommy. All jokes aside, I love seeing some good gameplay, and I love seeing some good gameplay in funky tanks. And this is one of those funky tanks. It's so novel, it's so different. And so if you've never wanted to bother to get yourself a trained crew on the tier 5, this is actually a really good opportunity for players, especially very good players, to quickly and easily and comfortably go and experience what Sundubuchige fell in love with a decade ago and decided to play this tank about 20,000 times. It's a very interesting, very novel gameplay, and I would thoroughly recommend not selling this tank. If you're an average and below average player and you're not able to harness game mechanics like Tommy is able to here, I guess you could just let it rust in your garage or sell it. The vehicle's tank cost, according to Tanks GG, is 3,000 gold. So you might even be able to sell it in a trade-in event to get like 1,500 gold discount off something else. So I personally don't ever think that it'd be worth selling this thing, even if you were to get 600,000 credits. What is 600,000 credits? That's like playing tanks with a credit booster for half an hour. Is this tank really worth just half an hour of your life? Personally, for me, I think it is. And I think it'd be a tragedy to sell this thing, as it is that full premium tank. So Tommy, thank you so much for uploading your awesome replay on the What Record website. This was 1,600 base experience for that 2,400 damage and 2,000 spotting. It's always interesting, only 12 shots to do 2,400 damage at tier 6. Wild stuff there. And as we can see, this is a premium tank, but we have to take away the 90,000 credits that Tommy got for completing a mission. So this was a 76,000 credits profit. That will still, if we take away, have netted them 20,000 credits after we take away ammunition and consumables resupplied at full price of 43,000. So guys, that's an expensive way to play World of Tanks, that's for sure. Tommy definitely sweating and tryharding to be able to get their ace tanker, but boy, what an ace tanker this was. So all in all, the AMX ELC 901, I think it's actually pretty okay at tier 6. I don't think it's as good tier for tier as the tier 5 is, so don't worry if you are live or die on the hill of the tier 5 French tech tree light tank. That tank is still better tier for tier, but this vehicle has practically identical gameplay to that tank. It's premium, so it will allow you to fire a few more gold rounds and not have to dig into your credit reserves. It will be able to make extra crew training, and also you can take any crew that you want to be able to put in this tank that makes it an easily accessible playstyle to go and try and enjoy. And the field mods, having the field mods at tier 6 is a notch up over tier 5. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was my full look at the AMX ELC 901. Really hope it was useful for you. If it was, give the video a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down, and let me know what you think about this tank in the comments down below. Is it a garage slot, or is it a fun opportunity? And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Friday, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby with brand new drops. And so come get yourself some loot and hopefully check out a little bit of overwhelming firepower gameplay today live, and hopefully a few good games. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.